As Abraham gazes across the barren land of Canaan, the land promised to him by God, he stands at the threshold of a legacy far greater than he could have imagined. But there's a number, 137, that holds a profound significance in this story, a number that threads its way through generations and divine promises, guiding this journey. At the age of 137, Abraham faced a great loss. Sarah, his beloved wife, passed away. This event marks a pivotal moment, not only in his personal life, but in the unfolding of God's grand design. The number 137 holds more than just a historical value. It is intertwined with the sacred rhythm of time. When multiplied by 3.14, it gives us 430, a number that echoes the complete cycle of bondage and redemption. This calculation, 137 times 3.14 equals 430, is not just a number, but a divine blueprint. The 430 years the Israelites would endure in Egypt symbolize the completion of this cycle, a journey from captivity to liberation, from oppression to spiritual freedom. At 137, Isaac, like his father Abraham, also faces the weight of loss. It is during this time that Jacob steals Esau's birthright and blessing, an act that will set off a chain of events marked by deception. Isaac, now blind and spiritually clouded, unknowingly blesses the wrong son, not realizing that the line of blessing would pass to Jacob, who had once deceived his brother. The generational curse of deception continues here, moving from Abraham to Isaac, and now to Jacob, who will face his own trials. A significant moment in this generational journey occurs with the death of Ishmael, Abraham's son from Hagar. At the age of 137, just as Ishmael was born out of Abraham's impatience, his passing signifies the closing of a chapter in the generational cycle, the one begun when Abraham took matters into his own hands, listening to his flesh instead of waiting for God's timing. The death of Ishmael at 137 serves as a profound reminder of how choices made in the flesh continue to affect future generations, leading to both consequences and ultimately to redemption. Isaac and Ishmael, despite their strained relationship, are part of the same divine narrative, each representing a branch of Abraham's legacy. The 430 years in Egypt were the fulfillment of God's promise to Abraham. The 430 years were not just a measure of time. They were a divine process, a refining period for the Israelites. Just as 137 multiplied by 3.14 brings us to 430, so too does God's plan unfold in cycles, moving from one generation to the next, each stepping stone leading to spiritual freedom. The Israelites' journey was one of suffering, yes, but it was also a journey toward redemption, preparing them to leave Egypt and enter the promised land. That 430 years of slavery, oppression, and testing eventually gave birth to the ultimate act of deliverance, the Exodus. And then, the 10th plague strikes, God's final and most devastating judgment. The firstborn of Egypt perish, but for the Israelites, marked by the blood of the Lamb, there is salvation. This final act of redemption serves as the turning point, breaking the curse of sin and setting the Israelites free. It is through the blood of the Lamb, a mark of redemption, that God's people were delivered. Just as Abraham was called to the land of Canaan, a place of promise and yet struggle, so too would the Israelites be called out of Egypt, breaking the generational cycle that had bound them for so long. The 430 years of oppression were brought to an end, and a new chapter in their journey began. Abraham's journey began with faith in God's promise, but when faced with difficulty, he made a decision to listen to his flesh, to take Hagar as his wife, and father Ishmael. This act, born from impatience and doubt, set in motion a generational curse. Ishmael, the son of the flesh, and Isaac, the son of promise. As Abraham left for Canaan, a land not yet fertile, much like Sarah's womb, his impatience would echo in the next generation. The curse of taking matters into his own hands rather than waiting for God's perfect timing would affect his descendants in ways he could not foresee. Isaac, at the age of 137, faces his own trial, a spiritual blindness, mirroring the mistakes of his father. When Jacob deceives his brother Esau, stealing his birthright, he perpetuates the curse of deception that started with Abraham. Now Jacob himself will find that his journey too will be marred by deception, as he spends 20 years in bondage. Tricked by his uncle Laban, the cycle of deception continues, with Jacob experiencing the very same trickery he once visited upon Esau. It is as though the sins of Abraham and Isaac have come back to haunt Jacob, each generation repeating the mistakes of the one before. The 20 years Jacob spends in servitude mirror the 20 years of bondage the Israelites would eventually experience. And in this ongoing cycle, there comes another moment of betrayal. Joseph, the favored son of Jacob, is sold into slavery by his own brothers for 20 shekels, a price that marks his betrayal. This event, deeply significant, echoes the 20 theme throughout the narrative, a reminder that the sins of the fathers continue to affect the sons. Joseph's journey, one marked by rejection and betrayal, mirrors the earlier story of his father Jacob, who was once deceived by his own brother Esau. The 20 shekels become a symbol of the brokenness in the family and the generational curse that continues to plague them. Each act of betrayal and deception feeding into the cycle of suffering and redemption. Jacob's 20 years in Laban's house were not just years of labor, they were years of divine discipline. For each act of deception, there was a corresponding trial. Jacob, the deceiver, was now deceived, bound to his uncle's promises, much as he had bound Esau to a false birthright. In this cycle, we see a deeper truth. Abraham was the 20th in line from Adam, and the curse of Canaan began in the days following Noah's Ark, where sin, deception, and disobedience entered the world. These generational curses are not merely inherited, they are woven into the very fabric of time, passed down from father to son. The journey of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and the Israelites is the story of God's divine purpose unfolding over time. The 430 years of slavery in Egypt, just like the 137 times 3.14 equals 430 cycle, represents the completion of a full circle, bondage, suffering, and ultimately redemption. It is a story of generational curses, but it is also a story of divine redemption, where God breaks the chains and leads his people into freedom. Each cycle in this divine plan brings us closer to the ultimate redemption, where flesh is replaced by spirit and grace.